billion years or 6,000 years. Every documentary on nature and astronomy gives the age of the universe in terms of billions of years. But there are very many top scientists who strongly disagree with these figures. Since the rise of the theory of evolution, the Tanakh account has been taken as mere allegory, or worse, openly ridiculed as a worthless myth. However, in recent years, a veritable torrent of scientific data has emerged that shows not only is the literal truth of the Bible tenable, a young age for the universe is fully supported, and that it is the long-age uniformitarians who are in serious error. Any attempt to teach creation science is outlawed, and any attempt to criticize evolution is met with a barrier of silence by the academic establishment. Adultery, abortion, euthanasia, and other contentious issues are openly discussed, but the one subject that is sacrosanct is the theory of evolution. Examples of evidence against evolution. Number one, the probability for the chance formation by random mutation of just the simplest proteins in the human body is no better than 1 in 10 to the power of 2.6 billion. It would take 41 years non-stop just to type out this number. Not even the most dedicated gambler would wage 1 penny on such odds, let alone his soul. Quote, these numbers are big enough to bury Darwin and the entire theory of evolution forever, Sir Fred Hoyle. Quote, the atheistic idea is so nonsensical that I cannot put it into words, Lord Kelvin. Despite 150 years of searching worldwide, exasperated paleontologists have given up hope of ever finding even one transitional fossil, let alone a single set to close the gaps between the phyla, classes, or even species to support the supposed evolutionary line. On the contrary, the fossil record shows that all forms of life appeared suddenly, existed contemporaneously, and in their fully developed complex form from the very beginning. Quote, neither Darwin nor any Darwinian has ever given an actual causal explanation of any single organism or any single organ, Sir Karl Popper. No evolution whatsoever, not macro, not micro, not gradualist, not punctualist, not neo-Darwinian, nor Lamarckian has ever been observed. Charles Darwin himself admitted that not one change of species into another is on record. We cannot prove that a single species has changed. The genetic experiments on countless generations of fruit flies have resulted in no development at all. They still obstinately remain fruit flies. The claim that the elimination of the light variety of the peppered moth was microevolution is now ridiculed, as both the light and dark varieties existed from the very beginning. The vaunted equus horse theories, which is still displayed in some museums, that was once offered as the best evidence for evolution, has now been disowned and quietly discarded. The display is a deceitful illusion, admitted Professor Charles Deperet. The discovery of the existence in abundance of the supposedly 60 million year extinct coelacanth fish is a colossal riddle. A labyrinth of fraud, deception, and intrigue to support evolution is not unknown. For example, Haeckel's faked gill-slit embryonic recapitulation sketches, which unbelievably are still taught at medical schools. Drummond's photographic forgeries, Camera's deliberate falsifying of the acquired characteristics of the midwife toad, and the infamous Piltdown Man scandal, which for 50 years was ensconced in the textbooks as absolute proof of evolution, until it was exposed as an expertly contrived hoax conceived at the very highest levels. Recently, the famed Archaeopteryx reptilian bird fossil at the London Natural History Museum has come under suspicion of forgery. 4. The stupendous myth of prehistoric men, missing link ape men and man-apes, is based entirely on the discretionary reconstruction of a very few widely dispersed, unconvincing bone shards. Java man was found to have been based on an ordinary gibbon's skull, Orke man on a donkey's skull, Ramapithecus on an orangutan, and Pithecanthropus on an elephant's kneecap. The sole evidence brought to support evolution and the existence of Nebraska man in the famous 1922 Scopes trial turned out to be the tooth of an extinct pig, an extinct chaza. Whole imaginary phantom populations of supposed subhumans, like the once sensationalized Cro-Magnon man, Neanderthal man, Peking man, Galley Hill man, Fontecchiavadi man, Swanscombe man, Grimaldi man, Nutcracker man, Old Duvai man, Wajak man, Leakey's 1470 man, etc., etc., are now acknowledged by the savants as being 100% true modern Homo sapiens, 100% true simians, or 100% hoax. After years of careful and extensive research, Lord Solly Zuckerman concluded that the entire concept of man's evolution from an ape-like creature is a phantasm. 5. The scores of Ice Age and multiple glaciation theories have not the slightest evidence to support them. Any assumed indicators are fully explained by catastrophic diluvial action, the flood, the Mabul. Evolution and uniformitarianism run directly counter to the overriding inviolable laws of thermodynamics and increasing universal entropy. Entropy is the tendency of matter to become more disorderly, destructurize, and naturally degenerate. 6. The fallacy of radiometric dating and the unwarranted inferring of vast ages is based on the arbitrary assumption that none of the daughter elements were present at formation, viz., the patent and gross inaccuracy of the uranium-lead, rubidium-strontium, and potassium-argon methods. Different methods giving ages of 14 million years, 30 million, 95 million, and 750 million years for the same piece of rock. The unreliability of carbon-14 is renowned. For example, a freshly killed seal, when dated by carbon-14 method, showed that it had died 1,300 years ago. And evidence for a young universe less than 10,000 years old. 1. The arms of the giant spiral galaxies are rotating at rates that should have caused them to be wrapped around their centers at least 100 times in the claimed 20 billion years of the universe. Yet not one spiral galaxy has its arm wrapped around itself even more than once, indicative of a recent creation. 2. The anomalous rotation of Venus, Uranus, and Pluto, the retrograde motion of the moons of Jupiter, Voyager 2's discovery of the unexpected thickness of Saturn's rings, the residual magnetism, warmth, and continual quake activity on the moon, and the continued existence of short-term comets that should have disintegrated eons ago all demonstrate a remarkable youth. 3. The constant rain of micrometeoric dust should have covered the Earth with a layer 50 feet thick if it was indeed 5 billion years old. The mere 1/8 inch of such dust on the moon gives less than 10,000 years worth, and surprised the Apollo astronauts who were expecting to be swamped in the stuff. Similarly, the amount of nickel and salinity of the Earth's oceans and helium in the atmosphere yield an age of the order of only thousands of years. 4. The sun is shrinking at the rate of 0.01% of its diameter per century, limiting its age to thousands of years. Similarly, the decline in the Earth's magnetic field shows that its age cannot be anything even approaching 20,000 years, as it would then have had the titanic field of a magnetic star. 5. The geological strata, perfectly flat upon each other, line, in smooth conformability, showing that they were laid down in quick succession without delay, as in a flood, not slowly over untold eons. The very existence of perfectly formed fossils implies rapid inundation without time for the carcasses to decay. The standard geological column of the textbooks, the Archean, Cambrian, Ordovician, Devonian, Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous, Miocene epochs, etc., etc. It looks neat, but in fact it exists nowhere on Earth. The Earth's crust is in fact one continuous bed of contemporaneous fossils, and its slicing to order to show supposed successive ages is arbitrary and fictitious. 6. Numerous intricate human artifacts and instruments have been found embedded under hundreds of feet of chalk, coal, limestone, basalt, quartz, granite, and sandstone deposits, indicating just how recent rock formations can be. Despite evolutionists' most fervent desire, no human record, inscription, artifact, or history can be dated back more than 6,000 years. The famous Paluxy River tracks in Texas show that men lived contemporaneously with dinosaurs, thus cutting the evolutionary timetable to shreds. 7. The 300 feet tall bristlecone pines and giant redwoods of California are the oldest living things, immune to pests and disease, and are believed to enjoy perpetual life. Yet dendrochronology, a fancy word for tree ring dating, remarkably shows that none of them are older than 5,100 years, a vexing problem. Research by Australian and Russian physicists, number 8, has indicated that the speed of light was very much high in the past, and that decrease in its velocity of precipitous proportions has occurred, lending unexpected support for a creation date less than 10,000 years ago. This decline has many important implications and explains many astronomical, chemical, geological, and biological phenomena that have long puzzled scientists, such as the observation of superluminals, that is, galaxies traveling faster than the current speed of light, the Doppler redshift, the so-called missing mass of the universe, and the higher rate of radioactive decay in the past, meaning that estimates of the ages of rocks appearing to be very ancient, quote, will have to be drastically revised downwards. The lower lift-to-drag ratios then prevalent would have made possible the flight of such creatures as pterosaurs. Pterosaurs, like pterodactyls, these are giant flying reptilian-type creatures with wingspans up to 50 feet, and antediluvian insects up to 4 feet long, which has long puzzled biologists, as today no such creature could get airborne. Life processes were all more efficient in the past, explaining the worldwide traditions of the superior size, longevity, intelligence, and fecundity of the first human beings. On the latter point, it is interesting to note that population formulae and statistics show that starting from a handful of individuals around 5,000 years ago, the survivors of the Mabul, survivors of the flood, up to the current world population of 7.5 billion, is a perfect exponential growth curve. Perfect. This is greatly perplexing to evolutionists, because if mankind had been around for the purported 3 million years, then the world population should by now be in the order of trillions. One of the many ideological Yeshuas, salvations that Rabbi Avigdor Miller wrought for his generation, one of the greatest was his debunking of evolution and the uncompromising defense of the Torah's chronology that our universe is 6,000 years old. Quote from Rav Miller, tape 871. Some people believe in the Torah implicitly, but they believe in evolution too. Exactly how you reconcile evolution with the Torah, that's not so easy. They do a lot of tongue twisting to explain that. Later generations will look back and say, you were Meshuggah. How could you believe in evolution and believe in the Chumash at the same time? Unquote. Rav Miller's biography states that his constant urging of the Association of Orthodox Jewish Scientists to publicly renounce evolution, something which they never did. Quote, I have researched and studied this matter of evolution for 74 years, and I have acquired a real hatred for this falsehood, unquote. Rav Miller had a real hatred for the theory of evolution, as stated in his biography, page 443. In spite of the testimony of the Torah and all the latest scientific evidence, the books of some Orthodox writers are still wedded to evolution and require urgent updating. For example, Aryeh Kaplan's book Immortality, Resurrection and the Age of the Universe, Gerald Schroeder's Genesis and the Big Bang, Judah Lander's Torah and Science, Nathan Aviezer's In the Beginning, Alvin Radkovsky's Modern Science and Emunah, Lawrence Kellerman's Theological Implications of Modern Cosmology, Jonathan Sacks's The Dignity of Difference, Aryeh Carmel's Challenge, Cyril Dom's Bechol Darkecha Da'ehu, and Nosson Slifkin's The Science of Torah. According to the Talmud, we are now in the last 215 years of the present regime of existence. Shis alfei shana have alma. The universe will exist 6,000 years. Talmud Sanhedrin 97. Ideas have consequences. Evolutionary reasoning is the foundation of atheism, materialism, biblical criticism, existentialism, Freudian psychology, humanism, hedonism, communism, Nazism, anarchism, and even modern racism. As it says in Yeshaya 60, Ki hinei achoshech yechasei aretz va'arofel le'umim. A darkness covers the earth and a dense fog the nations. In the future, the phantasm of billion years will be laughed at. Quote, posterity will marvel that so flimsy and dubious an hypothesis could have been accepted with the credulity that it has. This age is the most credulous in history. Malcolm Muggeridge. Beneath our feet lie millions of fossils of extinct animals and men. They are silent witness to a time when mankind became so degenerate that they were wiped out in one cataclysmic flood which took place not eons ago, but in recorded history. Fearful though this thought may be, we can take comfort that we've been promised that this will never happen again. Next time, it will be by fire. As it says in Dvorim 32, Ki eish kodcho ba'api vatikad ad sha'ul tachtis. For a fire will blaze in my wrath, and it will burn to the depths of purgatory.